Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In continuance of the previous sessions on Islam and the world today and how it happened and what gave rise to certain circumstances, I only mention these things because we need to be aware, as I informed the audience here at ITV, we need to be aware that much of the problems that we have today stems from this understanding that Islam is not a way of life, but Islam is a reactionary force, such as in China, where you have the Uyghur Muslims and how they're destroying the Uyghur Muslims. Or we have Burma, the situation, not Burma, which is Myanmar today, which is the Rohingya Muslims and how they are being destroyed today, saying that they're not part of the parcel of Myanmar's civilization, but they were very much a part of that, and they played a very positive role. And but as I said before, that's the horse of another story, inshallah. And then when we talk about Palestine, of course, we talk about Palestine, we talk about the period of colonization and how, after World War II, the so-called European Jews were afforded the opportunity to come into the so-called Promised Land. And they subsequently, in 1492, established Israel. And since then, they have been totally trying to do whatever they can to drive the Palestinians off the land or to physically exterminate them. This is an abomination, and this is human rights violation, and the United States, should change its policy towards Israel, because Israel is not abiding by the King David Conference. It's not abiding by any particular sanction of the United Nations. Matter of fact, if there's one country who has violated more than anyone else, the resolutions or whatever the case may be, it has been Israel. But this is not a story about the Israeli Palestinians. This is a story about Islam and its development moving into Africa at the present time, going into equatorial Africa, establishing kingdoms and civilizations, growth and development, such that by the time the Europeans begin to come there, seizing slaves, the Muslims had already developed a numerous amount of civilizations. As I said, Ghana, which had, I think, a standing army of over 500,000 men, and therefore no Arabs could deal with them, trained warriors who were there to defend it. And then subsequently you had the empire of Mali and the development of Timbuktu and the Sokoto universities, Sokoto Institute. These institutions of learning brought the African Muslim worlds on par, or even more than on par. Muslims in Africa excel the Arabs in their love and appreciation of Islam. The oldest Islamic institution today is considered Al-Azhar University, but nobody knows about Timbuktu. Timbuktu, at that time, was the oldest institution on the face of the earth, talking about books. It is now known that there is over 800 books that was hidden by the people in Mali, which depicted the story of the Prophet, what is Islam, the fundamentals of faith, science, philosophy, poetry, all these different things. It was so amazing that even the governor, not the governor, the president of, at that time, The president was Zuma of the ANC, who were in control in South Africa after the death of, my beloved brother. Alhamdulillah, his name escaped me, but he is like Malcolm X of South Africa. And not Desmond Tutu. It'll come to me in mind in passing, and when it do, I will relate it to you. But you have Islam establishing universities, educational systems, and the beautiful thing about it, as I said before, is that Dr. Rudolph Ware wrote in a book, The Walking Quran. That is the basis of Islamic learning. They set up madrasas, they set up, secondary education, they set up universities, they had training and education for the women, because unlike the Muslim women in the Arab world or any place else, they consider their women to be a very important part of their society. There was no ostracization of Muslim women, no making them second-class citizens. They had their own organizations. They had their own system of education. Women were taught to be teachers, nurses, doctors, and they were taught to be, educators on all levels in all academic subjects, because they believed that if you empower the woman, you empower the nation. Because as the saying goes, the hand which rocks the cradle builds the nation. So if you marginalize your women, you will find that those areas in which people marginalize their women become areas in which Islam becomes a dark place, an oppressive place, whereas you see a society in which they enhance the ability of their women to grow and to develop and to mature. Then you see growth and development, you see high academics and high quality. If you only listen to some of the women today who coming out of Africa, you will be amazed at their level of education and training. So then we see by the time that the Europeans in 1492, and now I'm going to talk about the Columbus era, that the Muslims had growth and development. There was no, backwardness in Africa. That whole misnomer that we see in Tarzan movies, boonga boonga. You can see them trying to depict Africans in the most negative light. Matter of fact, when we talk about cannibalism, you see in the cartoons, people putting a person inside a pot and roast them and all that other stuff. That was a European phenomenon. That was a European thing. And if you read the book, and you should add it to, I forgot the author's name, but it was originally entitled The Eaters of the Dead. And it subsequently, he meaning the Westerners, changed the title of the book and called it The 13th Warrior. So when you look at that movie on TV, reflect upon that. Look at the level of education and culture and civilization of the Muslims as opposed to the Europeans, who they were trying to educate and establish contact with on a humanitarian basis. And you will see that the level of Islamic growth and development was up here, and the level of growth and development of the Europeans was down here. And Islam reached down and raised them up. As I said before, there was only two, I guess you may saw places in Europe in which you call institutes, where they had books and materials, but the Muslims developed 17 universities, and I will begin to talk about those in the next segment when we talk about Christopher Columbus and growth and development of Islam in the Americas. So I hope you're able to follow me and continue to follow me and you're learning a great deal, and of course you're purchasing those books and materials to have them in your library. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.